welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, the home on the internet of places that are not sullied by any cricketing controversy, and of course where logic reigns. And today I get to do logic on a new fog puzzle, and this one is called Fog Deconstructed, and it's by James Sinclair. This has been recommended to us a few times. I mean, I love fog of war puzzles, as you know. Now this one looks a bit intimidating because this grid is definitely not standard size, so we're going to have to fit our 3x3 boxes into, I presume it's 11x11, it normally is for deconstruction puzzles. And remember, with fog puzzles, the way these work is that you have to use logic on the cells that you can see to determine values, and then by placing values you can clear the fog around correct digits. You must not guess. That's my most important principle for doing fog of war puzzles. You mustn't guess. That's jolly naughty, and you may get the puzzle right, but you won't get any satisfaction from it at all, and you won't get my respect. What's more, anyway, we'll get to the rules of this one in a moment or two. What else do I need to talk to you about before we kick off today? Let me have a look at my list. Well, I'll start off with Patreon, of course, where it has ticked over the 1st of July, and on the 1st of July we released a brand new Sudoku hunt, Kraken The Cryptic, over there on Patreon. Do have a go at that if you have some time. We're getting lovely comments on it already. We don't think it's too difficult this month, so if you found any of the recent monthly rewards challenging, this one might be one to make sure you send in a correct solution and have a chance of winning the competition. The competition closes on the 20th. Oh, that reminds me, actually, I've got to do the Roll of Honour for last month's monthly reward and announce the winner. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow, actually, because I'm not prepared. We've made the Roll of Honour, but I should draw a winner before we actually run the roll, so to speak. Yeah, so that's available over on Patreon. Now some birthdays. I've got 2 birthdays to do today. I'm going to start with Petra. Now Petra, I think you've turned 22 today, and I think your boyfriend's name is Isaac. The reason, let me show you why I'm not completely sure about this. This was the message I had from Isaac. My favourite ahead of the sun god in the lost city, brackets 5, close brackets, is turning approximately 7 pi, day equals pi of month 7, which I have translated as my favourite being pet, which is a standard sort of cryptic crossword reference, ahead of the sun god. Well, I think that might be Ra. That gives me Petra, which is certainly a lost city, turning approximately 7 pi. Well, if I use pi as 3.14, I get 22 approximately, on approximately the 3.14th day of month 7. I think it's today. It might not be your birthday. You might not be called Petra, but I think you probably are. And Isaac told me you've been together for 6 years, and I think his love for you is great, and apparently you're having chocolate cake today, so congratulations on that. I would encourage anyone else who actually wants an accurate birthday message to be read out not to send it to me in code. Now, another birthday. It is Sir Lunch. Sir Lunch is 58th birthday today, and Sir Lunch is a musician who has played REM's Losing My Religion many times to many different audiences, and apparently is now always wanting to say or sing "That's 3 in the corner." Well, you should do it, my friend. That would be hilarious. Imagine doing that in front of a proper audience, and actually, you know, maybe there would be some shouts of people who said, "That's Cracking the Cryptic." You never know. And a shout out to Zachary Buffton as well, who said that we should rename the song Losing My Religion to Proving Its Position, which I rather like. So that's 3 in the corner, Proving Its Position. Very good, Zachary. That's all. I think that's everything. Yeah, we're ready. We're good to go. I don't know how hard this is, by the way. I'm guessing it's probably quite hard. We can't see much of it. So let's have a look at Fog Deconstructed by James Sinclair. These are the rules. Fill the grid with 9 non-overlapping 3x3 square regions, such that each region contains the digits 1 to 9 once each, and no digit repeats in any row or column. correctly entered digits clear the fog around them. So this is a type of Sudoku called a deconstruction, hence I guess the Fog Deconstructed title. And what it means is that we're going to have to try and work out where in this grid the 3x3s live. Let's paint some in as an example. So let's say there's one there, there could be one here. You know, they're going to be speckled about all over the piece, and we're going to have to work out where they go, subject to the constraint that in each 3x3 box we have the digits 1 to 9 once each. Well, that's normal Sudoku, and no digit repeats in any row or column. Yeah, this is important because I've run into this question before on deconstruction puzzles. So imagine this was the setup of the grid. You can see that row 1 definitely doesn't have the digits 1 to 9 in it. In fact, it only has those digits in it. And row 4 only has these 6 digits in. So you don't have to put the digits 1 to 9 into every row, and every column. You just have to not have a repeated digit. Now, some rows, in fact, I do know that some rows will definitely have all of the digits 1 to 9, because there's a little trick we can do at the start of these puzzles. But it's, you know, we can't assume, we can't say, for example, that because this row has digits in it, that there must be 2 other 3x3 boxes in the row, such that this row has 9 digits in it. It might not have 9 digits. We will have to see. But there are more rules. Correctly, right? Not many more rules, actually. Cells outside regions do not contain digits. So once we've placed all of these 3x3 boxes, the rest of the grid basically is it's otiose and void. We don't have to do anything in it. Cages show the sum of their digits in the leftmost cell of the highest row reached by the cage. Right, so I think what that's saying, we can see there is a 2 cage here. I think that's saying that that cage couldn't do that, for example, because then this cell should have been the cell in the cage that contained that 2 clue, because it would be the highest leftmost digit. So basically we find the highest row reached by the cage, and then take the leftmost cell in that row in order to determine where the clue cell should be. And digits cannot repeat within a cage. Well, that's normal. That's normal killer Sudoku rules. Cells with a shaded square must contain an even digit. Well, we can't see any of those. And cells with a shaded circle must contain an odd digit. And again, we can't see any of those. I mean, just let's take a moment and just applaud the constructor. I think these are so clever, these puzzles, that literally from this ludicrously light setup, we can find a logically solvable puzzle without guessing. Is fantastic. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And I presume I have to start with, I only know one secret about deconstruction puzzles. I know lots of Sudoku secrets, but I'm going to start off with the secret I do know about deconstruction puzzles. And I've come into some criticism about how I discussed this in the past. So I will do my current thinking on this subject. So I've highlighted some cells in this grid green. And my belief is that each of those cells has to be part of a 3x3 box, and indeed a different 3x3 box in this puzzle. And to prove that, I will invite you now to place a 3x3 box in this puzzle that does not overlap with one of those green cells. And I think we could all agree that it's impossible, isn't it? It's absolutely impossible to place a 3x3 box somewhere in this grid where it doesn't overlap with one of these green cells. And in fact, we can go further than that and say that it must overlap with exactly one of these green cells, because even if you try and reach another one, because it's only a 3x3 box, you can't quite get there. And therefore, each of these, because there are 9 different non-overlapping regions in this puzzle to be placed, each one of these must actually have exactly one of the 9 3x3 regions overlapping with it. And therefore, well, it naturally follows, it's sort of a pigeonhole principle. We have proved that we cannot exclude any one of these 3x3 cell, or any one of these green cells, from being in a 3x3 box in this puzzle. And now, presumably, we have to look at this cell, because that is a cage. Yeah, okay. So this is just a given digit in effect, because although I can see this cage is extending. How can I show this? Can I use the? You can see this cage is doing at least this behind the fog. We don't know what else it's doing behind the fog, but the key thing is that this digit is counting towards this 2 total. So if we were to put a 1 into this cell, that would require, in order for us to get to a total of 2 for the cage, us to put a 1 somewhere else in the cage. And that would be 2 1s in the cage, which is expressly against the rules of the puzzle. So this is a 2, and this is going to be magnificent, because this is going to reveal lots of cells. Now, we've got a 1 cage that's just emerged. Oh, hang on. Right, I see. That the corollary of us putting 2 into the cell that we knew had to count within the 2 cage is that these 2 cells definitely can't count, because unless they were zeros, that wouldn't work. So we got a black. Yeah, look at that. That's magnificent. So look, now we've shunted up box 1 right into the corner, because this has to be part of a 3x3 box. So it must be that 3x3 box. Oh, actually, that's a little bit bright, isn't it? Maybe I'll change my colour scheme. Is that better? I think that is better. I'll leave these as green until I establish where they are, but I quite like the blue overlay there. Right, okay, so this 8 cage has to add up to all 3 cells are counting. They're all in a 3x3 box, and they don't involve a 2, so they must be 1 3 4, and this is a square digit, so that's even, so it's 4. And is that going to clear any fog? Yes, this is great. So we get fog clearage there. We get a 1 3 pair. Whoa. Okay, we've got the emergence here of a cage, but these 2 cells can't be in a 3x3 box, because this cell definitely isn't, and this is not 3x3, it's only 2 cells wide, so those cells have to be blackened. By the same token, those cells have to be blackened. I see, so this could be a 2. 2 3 4. This is a 5. Oh, hang on, this is a 5 6 pair, because it can't involve 2 9 3 8 or 4 7. But the square cell tells us the order, so that's going to be a 6. That clears more fog. Can't really even see the fog behind the blue thing. This is a 7 8 9 triple. That looks dodgy, because that is a 15. Yeah, well, this is a 15 cage, and these 2 cells count. So they must be a 7 8 pair. That's a 9 in the corner, not a 3 in the corner. So we don't get to sing yet. This has got to be an odd digit, because it's in a circle. So this is 7. This is 8. I wondered whether there was going to be fog revealage, and there is. We've got another 2 cage like this one, and a 1 cage, and a 45 cage that has just emerged. And now I don't know what to do. Let me think about this for a moment. Is it quite a good strategy? I wonder if it is. I don't think I should use green, because I can't really see it. But I wonder if it is a good strategy. The yellow is slightly better, to sort of start drawing in some of these cages. The 45 has to go to those 2 squares. The 2 has to go to those 3 squares. Okay, no, maybe it wasn't a good... Oh, ooh, hang on. Well, I mean, I can... Yes, okay. I can see that this square is not part of a 3 by 3. Because if this square was part of a 3 by 3, because it's in a cage, it would have to count towards the cage total, and that would make it a 1. But that would put 2 1s in this row, and that's against the rules. So that square is not, that square is a black square, and that means that square is a black square. Because obviously we can't fit a 3 by 3 above this cell. Now, that must mean that the 2 cage goes a little bit further, look. Because it hasn't, neither of the cells that are in the cage count yet. But this could count. Although, if this counted, let me just think about this. So imagine that was a 3 by 3. What are we saying then? We're saying that this one, which needs to see a 1 somewhere, doesn't it? It couldn't just go in there, because that would make this cell a 1. So this one would have to go down. And it couldn't run into the 45, so then it would go there, and that would be a 1. Yeah, but the problem with that analysis is, what's to stop? Oh, well, actually, one thing I was about to say is, what's to stop this 2 cage from sort of going right across the top, and there being a cage in the corner up there, with this cell being a 2? But there is something to stop that, which is that that cell hasn't got cage in it. Because we can see from the sort of grid furniture, there's no cage outline in that cell, and there's no cage outline in that cell either. I think there's probably a way here of telling where this 1 cage goes. My feeling is that this has to be a 1, but I'm not sure that this couldn't be a 1. If this is a 1, then that would be a 3 by 3. Because this is sort of a corner there, isn't it? And then the 2 cage, goodness only knows where that would go. Oh, that's it. Well, that's not necessarily it, but that's very interesting. Okay, let me just highlight that possible. That is a possible 3 by 3 in this puzzle. But if this was a 3 by 3 in this puzzle, how on earth would this 2 work? Oh, no, it could. No, it can't. No, my first thought was right. I didn't think it could work, and I'm going to stand by that. Because where is the 2 that belongs to this cage? It has to be in a 3 by 3, and it's effectively walled in by these 2 cells, because these don't include cage. Oh, I've just had another thought. That's a horrible thought. Oh, hang on, I have had a horrible thought, and I haven't thought about this. What if this was the centre of an enormous 2 cage? So let's say this 2 cage goes like that, or something ludicrous like that. Is that possible? No, that can't be right, can it? Because then, if this was the centre of a 2 cage, no, you can't, all of the, Yeah, hang on, let me just think about that. So we're saying, what if there was an enormous 2 cage? Well, where's the 3 by 3 going to be that corresponds with that 2 cage? That's the question. Yeah, okay, I've thought of a different way of disproving that. Look at this row. Oh, I should have probably mentioned this. This is a sort of secondary secret that exists about these deconstruction puzzles, which is that these rows not only have the interesting property, and the same is true, by the way, of these columns, not only have the interesting property that they contain a green digit. Yes, the things I find interesting are strange. But they also have the property that these rows and columns are the ones in deconstruction puzzles that always contain all of the digits 1 to 9. And yeah, okay. I mean, that's an aside to what I was going to say. But if we look at this row now, because we know this is part of a 3 by 3, this cell here must be obviously part of it. It must count, mustn't it? It must be a green cell. Because if this cell was not green, we'd have a sort of, I don't know, a border there, and this is not a 3 by 3 because we know this cell is not open for business because it's been closed off by the 2 clue. Now, this is important, I think, for my analysis of this cell, which is that if this cell was the middle of a 2 cage and is some enormous 2 cage like this, both of these cells would be counting because these are both green cells and therefore they're contributing towards a total, and that's going to blow the 2 cage up. The 2 cage, just like this 2 cage, has just got a 2 in it somewhere. It's not got 2 digits in it. So, right, let's go back to the original thought then, which is, where does this 2 cage get its 2? It cannot go through there because that's not caged. It cannot go through there. That's not got cage in it or cage surrounding it, we've just established. So this, to get a 2, well, this could be a 2. That cell could be a 2. Or that could be a 2. But the point is that 3 by 3 I think is impossible. And that's because if this was a 3 by 3, this 2 cage cannot get us a 2 from here because that's not in a 3 by 3. It cannot get 2s up here. These are not in a 3 by 3. So its first blue cell it's going to enter is going to be this one. And that's already got a 2 in the row. So that cannot happen. And therefore, that cell is black. Now, if that cell's black, I now ask the question, where's the 1 getting its 1 from? Because even if the 1 turns down here, this cannot be a 1, because we know it's not in a 3 by 3 box. And the 1 can't then travel down because it'll hit the 45 cage and overlap with that. And we know the 1 can't get a 1 from here. So this 1 cage is being forced into this cell as its first opportunity to get a 1. And therefore that square is a 1 because it's clearly a blue cell even though it looks green. I think that logic holds, so and it does. Now, what does that mean? Well, I tell you what it does mean. It means all of these, well, it definitely means that this is part of a 3 by 3. Oh, well, this is part of the 2 cage, isn't it, here? It doesn't tell us, whether this is a 2 or not. Oh, no, it does. It does. Oh, I see. Right, this is straightforward now. Because the 2 cage is doing this, what would happen if this was the 2 in this 2 cage? This was the counting 2. Well, then that would be a 3 by 3. And there would be 2 cells in this 2 cage that have to count. So actually, And this is the end of the cage. So there is no more opportunity within this 2 cage to get a 2. So that is a 2, and let's hope that that clears the fog. It does. And now we know that there is a 3 by 3. In fact, let's do that up there as well. That's rather pretty. And we can change these greens. We've found another 3 by 3 here. That's got to be green because we know that this is part of a region. Look at these 2 squares in the 45 cage. Well, that's not a 3 by 3, so we can hive those off. All of this gets hived off as unfillable. We've got a 7 cage which is counting, which doesn't contain 1 or 2, so I can do the maths on that. That's got to be a 3-4 pair. No, I've got a 4 there, so that's a 3, that's a 4. More fog clearage. That's a weird looking cage. Oh, no, alright. I was about to say something that might not be true. I'll say it anyway, and you can all shout at me. This hasn't got a clue in its top left corner. So that suggests that this cage has a higher cell in one of those cells, doesn't it? But I suppose what I was then going to say is that implies there's a 3 by 3 box that starts up here, but that's not true, because it could be like this one, where there is going to be a cage total up here, but if it's in a black square, it doesn't contribute to the cage total, so it doesn't tell us that there's actually blue cells up here, unfortunately. At least I don't think it does. Ah, that's gorgeous. Right. Oh, this is beautiful. Right, I'm going to do this a totally different way. Yeah, okay. So I can now prove that that is a 3 by 3 box, and I can tell you how, in case you haven't spotted how to do it. Try and do it with the 18 cage that's there. For those of you who managed to do it, congratulations. The way to do this is to see that, look, this 18 cage clearly is occupying at least these 2 cells as well from the sort of grid furniture. So let's oh, yellow was my colour, wasn't it? So at least these cells are part of this 18 cage. But by Sudoku, these 2 cells, and this is green, so it's definitely a counting digit, these are at least a 6-7 pair minimum. This digit is at least a 5 minimum. So these 3 digits, which all count, are a minimum of 18. So this cannot count even though it's in the cage. And if it cannot count but it's in the cage, we know it's nature. It is a black cell. So these then knock out. This turns blue. All of this turns blue. We get to ring around the rosy at the top. We get to put an 8-9 pair here by Sudoku. I wanted to put a 0 there, that's silly. No, okay, this is a 5, obviously. And that might clear fog. It did. We've got the emergence of a 4 cage. We've got a 9 cage. And we've got the funny cage here. I'm actually going to fully pencil mark this box, which is slight overkill probably, but forgive me. In fact, look, you can see that I did the yellow in here, and that is the total extent of this cage. This cage never grew out to there or further. Oh, right. Now, this is interesting. Row 2 has got 9 digits in it. So row 2 needs to have an 8 and a 9 in it. Well, they're going to have to be there by Sudoku. So that's an 8-9 pair, so that's not 8-9. Now, Oh, okay, so now it's not possible for this 9 cage. It's not possible for these 2 digits to count, because if they did, it would have to be a 1, 2, 6, 9 cage, and that square would be unfillable because it already sees 1, 2 in the column. But one of these has to count. And it's going to count with a 2 or a 3. So it's either this one is a 2 or this one is a 3. Don't know how to do that. No, yes I do. Yes I do. I think. Okay, we can just do set theory. What a ludicrous sentence that is. That, I mean, honestly, I should be hauled over the coals for saying something so ludicrous in a video. We can just do set theory. It's a daft thing to say. But we do know, if we think about it, we do know the constituents of these, the total constituents of those 3 3x3 boxes, don't we? That must be 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9. It must be. Because each box individually will contain 1 set of the digits 1 to 9 once each. Now, this row, let's do the rows completely. That row contains a set of the digits 1 to 9, and that row contains a set of the digits 1 to 9. So these 2 rows together contain 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9. But we know that overall these blue cells are 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9. So these 9 cells must be they must be what's making up the 3rd set of digits 1 to 9, mustn't it? In the rows, because we've got 1 row, 2 rows offsetting effectively 2 of the boxes. So the other cells must be equivalent to a whole box of a Sudoku. So how could that be a 7? There would be 2 7s in that collection of digits. That cannot be right, and it's not right because when I put 6 in, it revealed some fog. And okay, so this is brilliant because now we know this can't be a 1-2 pair because of this problem. And we now know it's got to have a 3 in it, therefore, and that 3 must go there, and that's going to clear more fog. And this square is out, therefore, so that turns black square. So now we get an extra region here, which we can get rid of the green cell. We can frame it in red. This is an absolute pleasure to solve this, I have to say. Look. That's a 6, so that's a 7, that's a 6. So we're getting more fog clearage under the bonnet there. Yeah, these are a 1, 2, 3 triple. Because by Sudoku, look, we know what these digits are. So these are 4, 5, and 7 by Sudoku. We've got a 9 cage here that's got an 8 or a 9 in it. But it is going places, so we don't know whether this is an 8 with a counting 1 somewhere. Oh, hang on, the 4 cage can't be 2. Oh, that's beautiful. Right, it's very simple, but look, the 4 cage is only 2 cells large. Well, it's got to have some digits in it, or 1 digit in it at least, because it's got to contain digits that sum to 4. Well, it can't have both its digits counting, or it would be a 1-3 pair, and that would clash here. So one of its digits must count, and that can't be that one, because if we make this one count, it's going to make this one count, because it's going to create a 3x3. So that one counts, and that one doesn't, and therefore that one turns black. This one gets bluified, that one loses its green. Now we get to do the ring around the rosy again, and we get to write a 4 into that square, and we get to write no 4 into that square. Ah, look, this cage here is going up here. Oh, well, look, this is done now, because that is 2 cells counting within that 9 cage, so that's got to be 8, because we can't accompany the 9 with a 0 here. This square is not a 1 anymore. This square is a 9 by the power of Sudoku. Outrageous to be made to do Sudoku so early in the puzzle. How can 35 minutes have gone past? How? I like these yellow lines joining this up. It makes it look like you're creating some sort of complicated electrical circuit. Okay, now I'm stuck. What do I do now? Well, I tell you one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to fill in those cells as black cells. So this 5 cage looks interesting. That square has to be 2, 3 or 5. Because it's either the only cell in this cage that counts, in which case it's a 5, or it's got to be a part of a 2, 3 pair because 1 and 4 have gone. Well, here's a thought. Yes. Okay, you see this cage? Let me draw it in a little bit. This cage here. Well, this can't be the full extent of this cage. Because if it was, this domino couldn't add up to 10 because it couldn't be 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7 or 4, 6. So these two squares must be a 4, 5 pair. And there must be a 1 that's going to accompany them. And the 1 can't be there. So doesn't the 1 have to be here? It can't be there because that's not going to count. I think that's got to be a 1 by that logic, and it is. It's so satisfying when you make a deduction and you put the thing in and it clears lots of fog. Now, this is a 2, 8 pair, look. Because it can't be 3, 7, 1, 9 or 4, 6. So these squares are now known to be 6, 7 and 9 by our old friend Sudoku. Now, okay, so this green cell, all of those have got to be green, haven't they? Because this one's 3 by 3 has been sort of trapped onto the left hand side, but we don't know whether it goes up here. If we make that a 2, is that a problem? No, it's not. Right, but can we do a little bit of logic here? Where is the 2 that belongs in this cage? There's a question. It could absolutely be here. That's possible. Let's put that in as a possibility. If it's not there, where is it? It's not here because there's a 2 in this column already. So if this cage does this, that never works, because then it's going to enter this green segment, which we know is a counting digit, for the first time here, and that's going to cause a 2 in the column to repeat. Now this square can't be in this cage because of the grid furniture. So the 2 that belongs to this cage is either exactly here or exactly here. And that's interesting because look, we've got 2s here as well. So how could that be a 2? If that's a 2, that's a 2, and neither of these could be a 2, and that's impossible. So this is not a 2. I think that's done absolutely nothing for us. I thought that was going to be an intelligent point, but no. 3, 5 and 7 into this odd cell, which can't be 1 or 9. We've got a 9 cage here, but we can't see. There's some fog here that we can't clear. I mean, what on earth am I meant to do now? I suppose I can start building cages again. That cage is going there. The 45 cage. Can I see what that's doing? Let me just clear. I'm just going to clear the blue away there. Okay, so the 45 cage doesn't come into this cell, does it? So it must turn there, where it right, where it must turn down because it can't run into the 2 cage or this 2 cage. I mean, well, there's a secret of Sudoku which feels like it might be about to be relevant. What's the maximum size a cage could be in this puzzle? Well, because digits cannot repeat within a cage, the maximum size is 45. That is the secret of Sudoku. It's something I only tell my favourite people, but if you're watching this, of course you're one of my favourite people. How do I know it's 45 is the maximum? Well, that's what the digits 1 to 9 add up to. That is the triangular number for 9. So if you tried to have a cage that summed to 46, it would definitely have more than the digits 1 to 9 once each in it, and therefore break the rules of Killer Sudoku. Oh, no, okay. So this cage we know has to, well, we now know it has to have 11 cells in it at least, because we know these 2 cells don't count. So we need 9 counting cells in this 45 cage. What am I meant to do now? This is the funny thing about these sorts of puzzles, is you just can't, you know... Look, this 5 cage looks like it's going to be enormous. It looks like it's going to join down here. Oh, I know what I could do. I could, this we know this is part of a genuine 3x3, so that one is as well now. Because this column, look, in order to squeeze, yeah, the same is true here. Oh, yeah, look, this one has got to go to there, hasn't it? And therefore this one's got to go to there. So this one is either those, it's either a 3x3 there, or it's a 3x3 here. And I would love to know which of those was correct. Is there a way to tell? I've no idea. So I suppose I know there's a 1 in one of these 3 squares. I mean, that is the most minor deduction. I'm baffled. I have no idea what to do. I feel like I must have missed a clue or something. What is it? I don't know. What's going on? How are you meant to do this? There's something hidden in the fog up here, but I can't see what it is. Is there a way that I know, for example, do I know that this is the 2 or not the 2 for some reason? Oh, okay. In this column, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I know these are counting digits, so these are from 7, 8, and 9. That's a ludicrously light deduction. Goodness. Could we do... I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not even sure where to look here. Maybe it's one of these cages that I've... Maybe it's this cage. Is there a way... If that was in a cage, if that was in a 3x3, it would have to be a 2. Well, but this 5 cage could just stop, and that would be a 5, and that would make this a 7. Have I missed some? I mean, I haven't thought much about this 9 cage, but the reason well, I suppose those two cells are counting. They must add up to at least, they must be at least a 2-3 pair, mustn't they? Oh, they can't be a 2-3. Oh, is it this? Is it something to do with this cage? If this was this is at least, in fact it can't, right, it can't be 2-3, it can't be 2-4, so it's at least 2-5. So these are adding up to at least 7. But this could just be a domino that adds up to 9. Oh, I see. Oh goodness, it's obvious. Look, this 9, where does that go in this cage? It can't go in the 9 cage, which has got 2 counting digits, at least. In fact, it would probably be clearer if I did that. That's at least the scope of the 9 cage. So then this 9 is plonking a 9 here, and that's clearing some nonsense out of the way. Now, has that helped us? Let's hope so. Right, so these digits are... they're not... we're adding up to 9 in 2 cells, so it's not 1-8, it's not 4-5, it's either 3-6, which, we've got an odd digit here, so it was either 3-6 or 2-7, and this would be the odd digit, which is going like this. And that's right, so this stuff we did with the 2s is now useful. That can't be a 2 for the same reason this couldn't be a 2. If that's a 2, that's a 2, and there's nowhere to put a 2 for this 2 clue. So that's a 6. And it was right, it cleared fog. That's a 3. That cleared some fog. So this is 5 now. Which means this is 5. That's 4. This is 7. These two squares are a 2-8 pair, but we know the order, because again, this can't be a 2 because of the 2 thing over on this side again. So this is 8, this is 2. Now, can we get some stuff done at the top? That's a 2. Oh, I see, that's revealed a cage total as well. So we need to think about this. That's not 7. This is 7 by Sudoku. So how does this work? We've got 9. We need 13. Oh, we could do it either way. 4-9 or 5-8 work. Bother. Okay, that doesn't help us then. That cell is not part of a cage, or part of a 3x3, because if it was, the 11 cage would break, because all of that would be blue. And this 11 cage would be at least a 4-cell cage. And 4 cells adding up to 11 with different digits is always 1, 2, 3, 5. And these squares couldn't be 1, 2, or 3. So they'd both have to be 5, and that wouldn't work. So that square is black. Alright, I'm going to do that trick again. That square is black as well, for a slightly different, similar reason, which is that if we make that a blue region, then this 11 cage, these 2 cells are definitely caged and definitely counting. But the minimum sum these can have is more than... You can't make them a 4-5 pair because that's going to break this square. You can't involve 1, 2, 3 in them, so they're at least 4, 6. And 4, 6 and 2 don't add up to 11, they add up to too many. So that square's out. So now... Oh, bobbins, I don't know. Oh, hang on, this cage has got a 9 in it. And that cage seems right. Here we go, there's something ludicrous going on here. This cage goes into that square. So that square can't be a 9, or it would be repeating a 9 in the cage. This square is a 9 by Sudoku. It sees 6 and 7 in the row. That has cleared some fog for me. This 8 is going to do that digit. Is that going to, I think we've done a lot of the fog up here. Oh, right. Okay. So this cage is not part of the 5 cage. It's part of the 40. That's probably more sensible. It's part of the 45 cage because look, if we extend the 45 cage down, it's going into this square, but this square is also going into this square. So there's a great big cage here, which is exactly what we were expecting. But we don't know how many counting cells we've got now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 counting cells. We need 4 more. But that one could be counting. And lots of them in this row could be counting. Right. What on earth do we do now? I have no idea. I suppose, okay, I know what these squares are. These are a 1, 2, 3 triple. That's not 2. So I get a 1, 3 pair in this column. These squares are from 4, 6, 7 and 8. Now that's not 4, that's not 8, and that's not... Oh, this is not good, is it? Not good. Ah, right, but it's important. I've spotted it now. Okay, so this 2, remember this can't be a counting 2 now, because if this is a counting 2, that's a 3 by 3, and we'd have a second 2 in this row. So this is out, which means these squares are all black, which means these squares are all green, and we get to ring them with our redification. So that's a region. I can see one more thing. Oh, I can see lots. I therefore have to change the colour of this one to blue. This one has to come down here. And these squares 8 are mildly restricted. They're not 1, 2, 3, and they're not 4 and 8. So they're 5, 6, 7, or 9. Which means this square is naked, I want to say. I'm just going to check that. Let's get rid of that 2 as well, because that's winking at me annoyingly. Right, we've got 1, 2, 3. In this row, the 4 and the 8 are in this box. So 5, 6, 7, 9. 5, yeah, this I think is a 7, I think. And it was, and that's going to allow us to remove 7 from all of these squares, which gives us a 4, 6, well, it gives us a 7 in this row there, gives us a 6 here. This 6, look at this, through the mechanism of this weird cage, that's got to be a 4 now, or it would repeat a digit. That's now 8, that's now 6. So these 2 squares are a 5 and a 9, I want to say, which is beautiful. Look at this. That 9 sees that one in its own cage. So that's 5. This is 9. And this column is all of a sudden done, basically, because we've got this 1, 3 pair. So we can fill in 6, 7 and 9 at the bottom, and we've got something going on with an 8 cage. Well, we can't put 9 in an 8 cage. That's not going to work. Right, so this square... No, that's not right. What I was about to say was nearly right, but then I realised it wasn't. I was about to say this square has to count, but actually that's not true, is it? Because this cage is clearly going to this square. So imagine that all of these were black, but this counted... Oh no, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because for a very good reason, which is that this can't be a 1 or a 2. So hang on. So if this cell counted towards the 8 cage would be broken because it would be at least a 3, and 3 plus 6 is more than 8. So that cell cannot count, so that square must be black. Ah, hang on. I wanted to make it a black square. Which means Well, that means I can't fit in anything in this column by way of more 3x3s, which means this has to come over here like this. So this is a sort of boundary, which means all of this has to be green. Now we know those two are out, so we have found a new region now in the bottom of the grid. This is a region which we can redify. Ah, no. Ah! Okay, so now that square is out. That can't be part of a 3x3. We don't know where this one goes, although I'd wager it has to take those in. Ah, no, that's not true. I was just thinking we have to get enough digits into this 45 cage. We need 9 counting digits, but this cage could come down here, couldn't it? So we don't know whether these are in or not. Do we know this is in? Or could this be getting its 1 and a 2 from somewhere else? Like, if that's a black digit, all of this is black. I mean, I don't see how this is going to ever work. Because this digit, it needs a counting 1 or 2, which, I mean, it looks like it has to be here. I'm just worried this cage could go off a meandering. But if it does go a meandering, I mean, it couldn't, could it? Could it go to there and this be the 1 or the 2? And the answer to that is I don't know. That would be very, very cunning indeed. And downright devious. We've got a circled cell here. Cells with a shaded circle must contain an odd digit. Does that mean I can assume that's part of the... Oh, I can do it anyway. Yes, okay. I was trying to see if I could use the instructions to claim that this was in a region, but actually with this line here, this region is either that or this. So these are definitely green and definitely count. So this square is 1, 3 or 5, I think, by our old friend Sudoku. Which is almost interesting. So 8 in this column is right at the bottom of the column. 9 is definitely at the bottom of column 3. This square can't be in a region, so we should blackify that. Wow. And that, what on earth do I do now? Oh, you can very nearly rule this square out from being part of a region, because it sees 7 and 9. So the only way this is part of a region is if it is an 8. And we haven't had 8 yet, have we, in this region? We have had quite a few digits, actually. We've had 4, 5, 6 and 9, and that digit. So actually, if this cage goes to there, if this cage comes down to that cell, that square, this has to be a 7, 8 pair. If that square is... If that square's in, all of these are in. And we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this would end. So this would have to be... This would have to be 7. There would be an 8. Oh, I see, and then low digits here. Maybe that's an 8, and this is a 1, 1, 2, 3 over here. Oh, this is tricky. This is very tricky indeed. Right, what have we missed this time? We have missed. We've got another digit in this cage at least. Now, can that be a 9? Bar humbug, it can. How annoying is that? If it's not a 9... Actually, that's interesting. Hang on a minute. I am actually going to think about this for a second or two. 4, 5. Let's actually pencil mark this in. 4, 5, 7, 9. I think we could conclude immediately this can't be a 7, can't we? Because if this was a 7, we'd have 9 in the cage already, and we'd need 2 more, and there's no way to do that without repeating the 2 or putting double 1 in. That's not going to work. I think this is going to be a 9. If it's a 5, can't get a 4 from here. Actually, no, I'm not now sure. 1, 2, 3, 8 down here. Let's have a look at that as well. 1, 2, 3, 8. Should we do the whole caboodle? Maybe. I don't know. I realise I've sort of stopped talking. I'm getting confused now. If this is not in, it can't take this. Right. So let's just maybe the way to do this is to plot more precisely. It comes to here for sure, and we know it doesn't go there because we can see some grid furniture. So that's not where this 11 cage goes. The simple thing is that this is just the end of the cage, and that becomes a 9. If we are not in that paradigm, how do we make it work? Because if this is a 4 or a 5, it could be a 4-cell cage. Oh, I hadn't thought. Right, okay, I was about to say it doesn't work because I couldn't see how to make. If this isn't 9, let's say this is 4 or 5. Well, then we know. If we're looking at a 3-cell counting cage, the next digit after this in this cage would have to be a 4, 5, because we know we need 9 after we've got rid of the 2, don't we? We need 9 more, so we need a 4, 5. But this can't be a 4, 5 because that's going to break this square, and this can't be 4, 5, and that's not in the cage. So the key to this is that if this isn't a 9, it could be 4 cells counting. In other words, this is a 1. We need to put 1, 3, and 5 in. Now, so this would be 5. This would be 1 or 3. We couldn't then go here because we'd have a 1, 3 pair already in this column. Oh, this is ridiculously clever. I think I have finally understood this. This is monstrously difficult. This is very, very clever, but monstrously hard. Okay, so I am going to claim. I'm going to do this exhaustively. Now, if this is... We've proved that this is not 3 counting cells. Could it be 4 counting cells? In that case, I have to put a 1, 3, 5 triple into this cage somewhere. This would have to be the 5. We can agree that because this cannot be any other of those digits, 1, 3, and 5. So this has to be the first digit. This has to be the second digit because we can't come down here. There's no 1, 3 option. and this square is not available. So this becomes a 1 or a 3. And we need one more of 1 or 3 to complete the cage. Well, we can't put it there because we've already had the 1-3 pair in the column. And if we were to go here, which is the only other cell we could go to, that would put a 1-3-5 triple into those 3 squares and break that cell. That's ludicrous. I suspect there is something far easier than that to deduce at this point. But what we have proved, and it's going to clear some fog, is that this is a 9. Okay, now has that done anything magnificent for us? Well, yeah, okay, a little bit of magnificentness. Those squares are a 3-5 pair now. That is doing work, actually, because it can't be 1-7 or 2-6. So this square has become a 4. This square has become a 5. That means that square had to be an 8, didn't it? And that square has become a 9. And this square has become a 1 in the corner, no 3 in the corner. Now, if we look down this column, we get a 6 in the corner down here. That cleared a little bit of fog. So this 12 cage is going like this. It's not got 5 in it. Oh, look, it's 4, 7, 1. 4 and 7 is 11, so this has got to be a 1. We've done it. We've done it. Because this is huge. This square cannot count. Well, the minimum we could make those 3 digits add up to was 12, so this cannot count. Otherwise we're going to get to 13, which means these don't count, which means these do count, which means we get to transpose these to blue. You can see there's still a load of fog we've got to clear down here. This all becomes a region. What does this mean? I don't quite know yet. These squares don't include 3, so this is a 2-8 pair. Oh, I suppose this 8 cage now. Well, this square now is counting. So this is 7 or 8. Yeah, so this is now a 9. Because this couldn't be 9 because it would repeat in its cage. And if that's a 9, this is a 9. And that's going to clear some fog down here, which might be useful. I still want to know what this 8 cage is doing. I suspect there's a way I can tell that, but I haven't figured out how to do it. Okay, so now what's going on with this? Well, yeah, we know the 45 cage is total parameter now. So these squares have to be 5, 6, 9, 7, 8, 1, 2 and 3 into these squares. These are the 3 digits we're missing. 1, 2 and 3. That's not 3. Now, I'm sure this is very important. And the reason this is very important is, come on Simon, use your brain. Can we do a bit more here? 8, 7, 5. Yeah, maybe a bit more. 5 in this box is in one of those 2 squares, which marries up with the 5s over here. So this square can't be a 5 anymore, or it would be a third 5 in 2 rows. That gives me a 1-3 pair here, which gives me a 2, which did very little, but it was still quite exciting. Now 4 must be here by our old friend Sudoku. Oh, hang on, how long has this been here? I can now see this 8 cage doesn't go off, it doesn't go meandering through the fog. So this square has to be in order to get to a count of 8. So this is done now. We've figured out where the final box goes, thank goodness. So now we can ring this with red. We can close off everything else with black digits. We know this square is definitely a 1 or a 2. Please. No, 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 no. No, it's not going to give it to me, is it? Ah. All right, I know what I'm going to do here. I'm going to use jiggery pokery in order to make more progress. Right, I'm going to use sort of modified set theory again on the bottom of the grid. So it's exactly the same trick we did earlier. Those 3 boxes contain 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9. These 2 rows contain 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9. So these must be another set of the digits 1 to 9. And I've already got a 1 in here. So that square is going to have to be a 2, and now that square is going to have to be a 3, and now that's going through the cage of the 45 cage to there, which gives me a 1, 3, 1, 3. Oh, please, please, please do a bit more than that. That would be very much appreciated. Oh, come on. That 1 is giving me a 3 here. That cleared something. I don't know what it was. That cleared something. Look, there's a 3 and a 5 over here now. Does this go any further? I don't know. Oh, come on, Simon. All right, what have we got at the bottom of this column? We have not put 5 in, have we? Or 8. So this is a 5-8 pair, which means these squares here are 1, 2, and 4, and that's not 1. And hang on, from our trick, which is that this is a set of the digits 1 to 9, that's therefore got to be 4, which means that didn't seem to clear any fog though. I hope that's not wrong. 4 and 7, maybe I'd already cleared the fog from that bit. Or maybe I have made an error, I hope not. This 7 means that's an 8, using the jiggery pokery trick. That's now become a 6, which means this is a 2, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is an 8, this is a 7. Now we need to put 1 into these. Well, the 5 goes here. So that does the 5. No, that did clear the fog, so maybe we are still on the right track. This row needs a 6, which is there. This is a 4, and this is a 1. And now we will stare at the puzzle and consider whether or not we have solved it correctly. I hope so. 1, 2. In fact, maybe what I should do is see whether all the fog's been cleared. Let's double click that and get... Oh, it has! That's fantastic. So when okay, and presumably if I do the blue as well, there is no fog remaining. So the fog has been cleared by the digits I've placed. So I'm pretty confident this is correct then. Yes. What a brilliant puzzle. That is just a brilliant puzzle. Not easy, mind you. It's taken me a long time. But that has been solved 150 times, basically. Loved it. James Sinclair, take a bow. That is a really, really cool puzzle. And not easy, actually. You have to know a bit, I think, about deconstruction to even start it. And having started it, there were several points. I'd love to know what I missed down here. This was a ludicrously difficult spot, this 9 cage. But I love the way that the cages could sort of be detected. This 45 cage was doing mighty work, wasn't it? Fantastic. What an absolutely brilliant puzzle. Let me know in the comments how you got on with it. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Kraken the Cryptic.